Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Did you know we have completely ad-free early access to all of our episodes? Well, we do. Not only that, but we have dozens of bonus episodes waiting for you. Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod, and you can check it out for 7 days absolutely free. That's patreon.com/ghosttownpod. Don't look back. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
On December 8th, 1895, the Boston Post published an article titled The Wonders of Modern Science. In it, the piece referenced reports from the Royal Scientific Society, which documented the existence of bizarre human anomalies, including a human crab, a person with the body of a spider, a mermaid, and a man, appearing average or average-ish in all respects but one. On the other side of his head was a small, angry human face. This jarring medical condition would eventually make the man go insane. Or would it? This truly is a tale ripped from medical books, journalistic articles, and, of course, urban legend. The man with two faces, the cursed sideshow, or the two-faced hoax, whatever you want to call it, its mysteries abound to this day. Today on Ghost Town, the story of Edward Mordake. The earliest reference of Edward Mordake, or in other sources, Mordake, M-O-R-D-A-K-A, we're going with Mordrake for consistency's sake, was in the Boston Post. In an 1895 article in the Post, authored by fiction writer Charles Lowton Hildreth, he reported that Mordrake was a, quote, human freak, among others of his kind, including the ones I mentioned before. Hildreth claimed to have found these cases described in old reports of the Royal Scientific Society. Like many publications of the time, Hildreth's article was vague, and it was hard to know exactly what his references were or where they came from. What the Boston Post did know was that the article sold papers and piqued readers' interests. So, actual fact-checking? Well, it wasn't a huge priority. Along with calling him a human freak, the Boston Post also called Mordrake, quote, a young, intelligent, and good-looking English nobleman, as well as a, quote, musician of rare ability. But his curious condition overshadowed his attractiveness and, I guess, his musical skill, because, in addition to his handsome, normal face, Mordrake had another terrifying, angry second face on the back of his head. A year later, in 1896, the medical encyclopedia Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, co-authored by Dr. George M. Gould and Dr. David L. Pyle, also included an account of Mordrake. The account was, unfortunately, not very scientific or journalistic itself and was copied directly from Hildreth's article and was credited only to a, quote, lay source. The encyclopedia described the basic morphology of Mordrake's condition, but provided no medical diagnosis for the rare deformity. An explanation for the birth defect said that it may have been a form of craniophagus parasiticus, a parasitic twin head with an underdeveloped body, or a form of diprosopis, I'm sure I'm not saying these right, which is a bifurcated craniofacial duplication, or an extreme form of parasitic twin, an unequal conjoined twin. Here's an excerpt from the medical encyclopedia. Buckle up because it is a deep dive, but it does sound insane. Quote, "The following well-known story of Edward Mordrake, though taken from lay sources, is of sufficient notoriety and interest to be mentioned here." Okay. Quote, "One of the weirdest as well as most melancholy stories of human deformity is that of Edward Mordrake, said to have been heir to one of the noblest peerages in England. He lived in complete seclusion, refusing the visits even of the members of his own family. He was a young man of fine attainments, a profound scholar, and a musician of rare ability. His figure was remarkable for its grace, and his face, that is to say, his natural face, was that of an Antinous, which is very handsome, I have gathered from my research. Quote, but on the back of his head was another face, that of a beautiful girl, lovely as a dream, hideous as a devil. The female face was a mere mask, occupying only a small portion of the posterior part of the skull, yet exhibiting every sign of intelligence, of a malignant sort, however. It would be seen to smile and sneer while Mordrake was weeping. The eyes would follow the movements of the spectator, and the lips would gibber without ceasing. No voice was audible, but Mordrake avers that he was kept from his rest at night by the hateful whispers of his devil twin, as he called it, quote, which never sleeps, but talks to me forever of such things as they only speak of in hell. No imagination can conceive the dreadful temptations it sets before me. For some unforgiven wickedness of my forefathers, I am knit to this fiend, for a fiend it surely is. I beg and beseech you to crush it out of human semblance, even if I die for it. Yes, there is a lot there, and it is incredibly disturbing. Unfortunately, according to the same article in the Medical Encyclopedia Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, Mordrake begged his doctors to help him die. They did not, but in spite of careful monitoring, he managed to get himself some poison, drank it, and passed away at the tender age of 23 before he could see his apparently vast inheritance. Mordrake left behind a letter, simple request, really, asking that the demon face might be destroyed before his burial, quote, lest it continues its dreadful whisperings in my grave. This story of a man with two faces, this terrifying, this vivid, this detail-oriented story spread like wildfire across turn-of-the-century America, but also all over Europe. In a time of circus acts, spiritualism, magic, and traveling oddities, the public clamored for more details about Mordrake, and not wondering if, hey, maybe this story might not be wholly real. Even medical professionals believed the story of Mordrake and his twin head without a hint of skepticism. Which they should have, because, as it turned out, the story of Edward Mordrake was, in fact, not real, a fake. But it would reemerge in the early 2000s as something that was taken as pretty real on an international stage. More after this quick break. I love devouring a thriller alone at night, just letting my imagination run wild. Well, I definitely got what I wished for when I dug into Run Unread by Noelle W. Eiley. Oof! The viral suspense thriller that killed it, not literally, on Book Talk is now available to you as a deluxe special edition with gorgeous stenciled edges and a beautiful foiled cover. Talk about a vibe, my friends. Run Unread is a survival thriller about two women driving down a remote country road when they realize they are being followed. They don't have any cell signal and there's no way to escape. What starts as panicked road rage becomes something far more terrifying. As you might imagine, I consume a lot of thriller content on TV, online, and of course, getting cozied up with a good book is maybe my favorite. But sometimes thrillers can be so, corny. Many don't give me that satisfying setup or the scare factor that I crave. But Run on Red isn't like that. It's grounded with a good pace. The kind of scenario that catches my attention and makes me a little nervous, but not nervous enough to stop reading late at night, Oh, I love it. If you're a fan of Frida McFadden, Karen Slaughter, or John Mars, this is absolutely your jam. Run on Red by Noelle W. Eiley is available February 24th. So be sure to add it to your online cart, your big ol' reading to-dos, and eventually your favorite book list. So get under a blanket, get comfy, and keep those lights on just in case, because you're going to love Run on Red. In the early 2000s, two pictures, photographs really, began circulating of what claimed to be Edward Mordrake's mummified head. The first is a kind of a museum stand with a very gross-looking head on it. It feels very archival. And on it, there's one human face. It's kind of skull or flesh on top. It does look like a mummy. One face on one side. And then the other side, it's this tiny, shriveled other face with these protruding teeth. It is very disturbing, very nightmarish, and looks fairly real. The other photograph is a black and white profile photo of a man, flesh on, not mummified, in a kind of weird Three Stooges type of a bowl cut. And he looks healthy, young-ish, but he has this weird small face on the back of its head. The face is kind of flatter. It doesn't look like a rounded human skull. It does look like some kind of gremlin-like thing, tumor-ish on the side of his head. That photo, the second photo I talked about, became a meme which read, Edward Mordrake was reportedly the 19th century heir to an English peerage. He had an extra face on the back of his head, which could neither eat nor speak, although it could laugh or cry. Edward begged doctors to have his demon head removed because, supposedly, it whispered horrible things to him at night, but no doctor would attempt it. He committed suicide at the age of 23, and that's reading from that text from that meme. And the font is also pretty disturbing. It's kind of one of those rounded fonts that looks Disney-esque. Fairly inappropriate, I would say. Now memeified and circulating the internet, that photo, again the second one with the weird text, was popularized. Maybe went viral, though I don't know for sure, in 2018. And it maybe went viral, though I'm not 100% sure, in 2018. Because of this, more scrutiny was cast on Mordrake's story. And that scrutiny nearly immediately called out his story as incredibly suspicious. In a deep dive by Alex Bose in his blog, Museum of Hoaxes, Bose notes that the author of the original Post article, Charles Lowton Hildreth, was a very prolific poet and science fiction writer, not a journalist or scientist of any kind. Now, at the time, many authors and journalists did, write fiction on the side or were literary in any kind of sense. But again, there was nothing to insinuate that Hildreth had any, journalism background or did anything else journalistic aside from this. The gruesome mummified skull photo, in fact, is just papier-mâché, according to an All That's Interesting piece about Mordrake. According to All That's Interesting, the artist had even gone on record stating it was created entirely for entertainment purposes. And the two-faced black and white photograph with the bad haircut, the one with the weird caption? Well, Bose says that it's not Mordrake. It's actually a photo of a wax replica created by an artist, we don't know who, to show what Mordrake may have looked like. Where this wax figure was displayed is also murky, but there have been various replicas of Mordrake made for wax museums, etc. over the years, so the photo might have been taken of one of the wax heads, circulating around the world, showcasing, again, a kind of Ripley's Believe It or Not type of event or exhibit. Others looking into the Mordrake case also did a deep dive on Hildreth's article, which, as you know, cites the Royal Scientific Society as its source for its numerous bizarre medical cases. But in looking closer, many found that an organization by that name didn't exist in the 19th century. According to a 2021 article in USA Today about it, yes, USA Today did cover this, the only known Royal Scientific Society was founded in 1970 by Jordanian monarchs. So, yeah, that's a little bit late. The Royal Society of London is close in terms of name, and it does exist. It's a centuries-old scientific institution, but there was no organization that had both royal and scientific in their name. However, this name does sound believable to me, probably people back in the late 1800s, which may explain why so many people, Americans especially, fell for the story of the man with two faces. Hildreth's article also appears to be the first time any of the medical cases he describes have ever appeared in any literature, scientific or otherwise. Doing his due diligence, Bowes looked into the Royal Society of London's entire database, because it is searchable online, again, in his own deep dive, hoping that maybe they got the name wrong, but he wasn't able to find any of Hildreth's anomalies in its archives. From the Norfolk spider, a human head with 6 hairy legs, to the reference of the fishwoman of Lincoln, the mermaid we referenced in the beginning of this episode. When we realize this, Bowes wrote, that's when it becomes apparent that Hildreth's article was fiction. All of it sprang from his imagination, including Edward Mordake. So, was it irresponsible journalism or a kind of horror story hoax? And by and for whom? Well, again, it's Hildreth's imagination, so perhaps by him, but maybe it was inspired by something else. And for who? To terrify people? Was it directed at someone? Did it kind of describe a fear that the collective was having? Well, I doubt we'll ever know, as Hildreth died mere months after his article was published, so he never got to see just how quickly people were fooled by his wild creativity, generation after generation, and into the digital age. It's hard for our cultural consciousness to really let go of a story like Mordake and his second face, and for good reason. It's weird, it's bizarre, it has details that don't make sense but stay with you for a long time. It also shows that even rich, hot, musically talented noblemen aren't completely untouchable by bad luck, humanity, or some kind of evil genetic curse. Kind of gotcha to people of privilege, the upper class, the upper crust, the untouchables. We, the public, eat these stories up for those reasons. In 2014, American Horror Story got in on the action, telling the tale of Edward Mordake, the man with two faces, in their 4th season, American Horror Story Freak Show. On the show, however, Mordake is driven to murder as well as suicide, and the writers must have also taken inspiration from the original Boston Sunday Post article, since the Lobster Boy also makes an appearance in the show, a, quote, freak referenced in the original article. Of course, even crazy urban legends sometimes contain a little bit of truth. The medical condition known as craniofacial duplication, the result of an abnormal protein expression, can cause the facial features of an embryo to be duplicated. But the condition is extremely rare and usually lethal, although there are a few recent documented cases of infants who managed to survive a short time with this mutation. For instance, according to the All That's Interesting article about Mordake, a baby named Lali Singh was born with the condition in India in 2008. Though Singh sadly lived only a couple of months, she was not believed to be cursed at all, in fact, quite the opposite. Residents of her village thought she was an incarnation of the Hindu goddess Durga, and the villagers constructed a temple in her honor. As for Edward Mordake, his story continues to shock, and yes, even fool people to this day. Fooling people on the internet? I know, crazy. And if I know internet culture like I think I do, something tells me the story of Edward Mordake might continue to have people scratching their heads, or their faces, their one face, for years to come.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.